Once again, it's a privilege to be welcome into your home. Today we are reading from John chapter 6, verse 1 to 15. Jesus went across the Sea of Galilee. A large crowd followed him because they saw the signs he was performing on the sick. Jesus went up on the mountain, and there he sat down with his disciples. The Jewish feast of Passover was near. When Jesus raised his eyes and saw that a large crowd was coming to him, he said to Philip, "Where can we buy enough food for them to eat?" He said this to test him, because he himself knew what he was going to do. Philip answered him, 200 days' wages worth of food will not be enough for each of them to have a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, said to him, "There is a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what good are these for so many?" Jesus said, "Have the people recline." Now there was a great deal of grass in that place. So the men reclined, about 5,000 in number. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed them to those who were reclining, and also as much of the fish as they wanted. When they had had their fill, he said to his disciples, "Gather the fragments left over, so that nothing will be wasted." So they collected them and filled 12 wicker baskets with fragments from the 5 barley loaves that had been more than they could eat. When the people saw the signs he had done, they said, "This is truly the prophet, the one who is to come into the world." Since Jesus knew that they were going to come and carry him off to make him king, he withdrew again to the mountain alone. When we are faced with a challenge or a problem, the way we speak about it can be very important. We can speak about it in a way that deflates us or drains us of energy, or we can speak about it in a way that makes us hopeful and inspires us. Jesus sees the crowds coming towards him. Seeing that they were in need of food, he asked Philip where food could be bought to give them something to eat. Philip's response to Jesus showed that he felt overwhelmed by the problem. The words he used were very defeatist. 200 denarii would only buy enough to give them a small piece each. When Andrew chimed in, he too spoke in a way that conveyed a kind of hopelessness. Noticing that there was one small boy with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, he asked, what did that between so many? However, the way Jesus spoke in response to the problem was much more inspirational. He gave instructions to the disciples. He prayed aloud to God, and somehow the crowd got fed with the young boy's small fare. We can all be a little bit like the disciples before the challenges that life threw at us. We can become limp before it all. The reading encourages us to remain hopeful even in the face of situations that seem very unpromising. The reading suggests that the Lord can work in surprising ways in situations that seem daunting. Dear friends, St. Paul seems to have a very strong sense of how the Lord can work powerfully in weakness. That is why he could say in his letter to the Philippians, a letter written from prison, from a very unpromising situation, "I can do all things through him who strengthens me." Shalom. Peace.